The fireworks were everywhere on a Friday night in the latter innings, especially 17-4 victory for Tennessee over Auburn here in game one on a Friday night. This is Around the Horn, Volquest.com. I'm Eric Cain. Ben McKee live from Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Ben, you had Tennessee that was leading 2-0. Auburn comes back, takes a 4-2 lead. And then the seventh and eighth inning happened. Combined 15 runs in those two innings, 6 home runs. Had a grand slam for Jarrell Ortega. He homered later in the eighth inning. Evan Russell had 2 homers in that span. What an ending for Tennessee. Another example of how explosive this offense can be.
Yeah, this team, and not even this team, this program just continues to do things that baffle my mind. I'm still flustered from what we just saw. Just a very ho-hum evening at the ballpark for Tennessee for 6.5, 7 innings, and then bam! I mean, you score 2 runs in the first 7 innings, and then 15 runs on 18 hits. I believe it was in the 7th and the 8th inning. Auburn was out hitting Tennessee 9-3 going into the bottom of the 7th inning. They're out hitting them 9-3 going into the bottom of the 7th, and then Tennessee had like 16 hits. It's just absurd, Kane. I'm running out of ways to describe this program, to describe this team, and you really got to go back and pinpoint the 7th inning. You mentioned the Jarrell Ortega grand slam. Evan Russell, a bloop double that gets over the third baseman's head. It's just fair. He's able to reach second. Then Seth Stevenson comes up and punches one through the right side. Did a great job with 2 strikes, took 2 daddy hacks, and went down in the count. And then he shortens up and he punches it to right field. You got runners on first and third. Somebody draws a walk. You've got the bases loaded. And then something you and I talked about on our podcast to preview the weekend, I thought that there's a strong possibility that the dynamic duo that Auburn has in the bullpen, because they pitched so much last weekend, each of them pitched in every single game last weekend against South Carolina. Blake Burkhalter, the closer, and then Skipper Carson, the setup man. Both of those guys pitched every single every single game last weekend against Carolina. The season as a whole, they pitched a ton, and I thought you could really see that tonight. That was something that I brought up on the podcast that I was kind of paying attention to, like, hey, at some point they're going to run out of juice. At some point there's going to be a weekend where they don't have it. Is this the weekend? And you saw that tonight. Now, Blake Burkhalter, he looks like he injured his hamstring. Hopefully he's okay, but just a terrific at-bat by Jarrell Ortega. In that instance with the bases loaded, he goes down 0-2. He fouls one off. And then he has to deal with the delay while Auburn's coaching staff and trainers are checking on Burkhalter. And then first pitch, he just launches a grand slam to give Tennessee the lead. Tennessee didn't look back. He hit a second home run later. Evan Russell hit 2 home runs. Trey Lipscomb hit a home run. Blake Burke, who can't even get in the lineup, hit the longest home run of the game. I mean, just absolutely hit a piss missile, a piss shot, whatever you want to call it this time around. That wasn't a piss missile. That was a moon shot that Elon Musk is trying to purchase. I mean, it was just one of the most absurd homers we've seen this season, and that guy can't even get in the lineup. So just fireworks galore, and it all goes back to that bottom of the 7th. Evan leading off the inning with a double. Seth Stevenson with a big single through the right side, and then just one of the best at-bats of the season, Jarrell going down 0-2, battling through all the delays and hitting a grand slam there.
Yeah, that Blake home run there in the I guess it was the 8th inning. It all runs together by now. Burke on the broadcast was saying that's very King Griffey-esque, and I thought that was very eye-opening there, watching the latter innings. You beat me to it, the dynamic duo in the bullpen for Auburn. Burkhalter and Skipper, they got tagged for 5 runs tonight. So just 1 inning combined for those 2. And that's bad for Auburn because, again, they count on those guys to pitch so much, if not every game in a series like they did last weekend, at least 2 of the 3 on a weekend series. And maybe you'll be without at least one of them moving forward. So, we'll have to see. But as for Tennessee's starting pitcher, you had Chase Burns, pitched into the 6th inning. He is officially, his line was 5 innings. He surrenders 1 run off 6 hits, 9 strikeouts, and 3 walks. His pitch count was at 92 when he was lifted. Your thoughts on Chase Burns here tonight? Yet another Friday night start. His 2nd consecutive start after rebounding from 2 pretty bad starts for Chase Burns standards.
Yeah, and he put Will Mabry in a tough situation there in the 6th inning. The inning where Auburn scored 4 to take a 4-2 lead. Will Mabry comes in, gives up an RBI single. Drew Gilbert makes one heck of a throw from center field to keep it to one run. That was with the bases loaded, the RBI single. Obviously scores the guy from third. Guy from second tries to score. Drew makes a terrific throw home. I thought Evan Russell made as great of a tag as Gilbert did a throw. It wasn't an easy throw to handle, kind of away from the plate. Had to go in some form or fashion scoop it and then get back to home and tag the runner. That saved the run. It did ultimately matter, but my point that I was going to say it didn't really matter just because the next batter hits a 3-run homer. The leadoff man, Rambush, the third baseman, he hits a 3-run homer just right of the batter's eye, and Tennessee's down 4-2. So Burns put Mabry in a bad spot, but I still think it was a terrific outing for Chase Burns just because of what he was able to do in the third inning. You allow the bases to get loaded. I believe it was single, walk that loaded the bases, and then he strikes out the next 3 guys. And it just wasn't any 3 average Joes. It wasn't you or I at the plate, Eric, with AP behind us. It was the 2-hole hitter. It was the 3-hole hitter, who is Sonny DeShera, a.k.a. Sonny D, who statistically speaking is the best hitter in college baseball this season. Strikes him out for the second time, by the way, and then strikes out the third guy. Struck out 3 guys in a row in the heart of a good Auburn lineup to get out of the inning. And you got to think if Auburn explodes there in that inning, then maybe the game gets away. So maybe not the best of finishes for Burns, but I thought in totality it was a really good outing.
A very animated Tony Vitello whenever the team was coming off the field there, whenever he was able to get out of that. He was kind of, punching Evan Russell in the chest protector there. That was kind of cool to see. But Tennessee, again, slow start, but 17 runs off 19 hits overall in the game. Auburn 4 runs off 9 hits, 1 error in this ball game as they fall 17-4. Ben, there's so many to choose from, and it really, in a normal game, it would be like, well, duh, it's the grand slam. But there were a couple other awesome moments in this game. What was the loudest moment in the ball yard tonight at Lindsey Nelson Stadium? Which home run, or was it getting out of that bases loaded jam? What was the loudest moment in Lindsey Nelson tonight?
It was the grand slam, without a doubt, just because it was just a breath of fresh air. It was a large exhale here in the stadium. I myself, I know we kind of talked this past weekend about it never really feeling like Tennessee is going to lose until they actually lose. And tonight proved that theory correct. But I did think that Tennessee was going to lose before that inning. It did feel like once Tennessee got the bases loaded with no outs, that, okay, they're going to make something shake here. They're going to take the lead. They're going to be fine. But going into that inning, when Auburn was out hitting Tennessee 9-2, 9-3, and Tennessee really couldn't get anything going offensively, I thought Tennessee was going to lose. I did. I even turned to Ryan Shumpert and said, they're not winning tonight. I'll tell him myself. I said that. So my point in bringing that up is I imagine there were a ton of fans in the crowd that felt the same way. So when Jarrell Ortega hits that grand slam, not only is it a grand slam, but it's against a top 20 baseball team to take the lead, and you just feel better about Tennessee's chances. So it was without a doubt that grand slam.
Yeah, Jarrell Ortega just continues to impress, and he and I feel like Christian Moore just keep going back to back, every other week, whichever one has the hot hand. They're both playing extremely well right now, so that's good to see. Also, Ryan Shumpert, good people, great at what he does in covering baseball, better than you and I for sure. Last thing, Blake Tidwell is going to get the ball, looking for the series clinching victory tomorrow night. Anything else from this game, post game? Any comments that stick out from Tony Vitello or the players?
Yeah, nothing too crazy. There is a crazy stat, I guess, that is worth mentioning. Evan Russell hit the 100th home run of the season. I believe Tennessee sits at 100 homers, or maybe they're at 101. I can't remember. I think it's 101. Oh, yes, I think so. But let's put it in reverse, Terry. When they hit 98 home runs, that tied last year's team that hit 98 home runs. 26 games fewer, by the way. There's still 4 weekends left of baseball, and this team this year has already hit as many home runs as last year's team that hit a lot of home runs. It's just, again, stupid how many home runs this team is hitting, and just how dangerous 1-9 this lineup is. Cortland Lawson, the 9-hole hitter, is hitting like a leadoff guy or a 2-hole guy. He would be a 3-hole hitter on some teams, and he's Tennessee's 9-hole hitter. I mentioned it earlier. Blake Burke hits the most impressive in terms of actually hitting the ball, not in the moment. Jarrell Ortega had the most impressive home run in that regard, but just in terms of distance and power, Blake Burke had the most impressive tonight, and he can't get at bats. He's not in the lineup, and this guy's hitting balls 438 feet. I think it was 109.7 miles per hour off the bat. You mentioned it. Chris Burke is comparing Blake Burke's swing to Ken Griffey Jr.'s, and that guy can't get in the lineup. So we continue to talk about it with the pitching staff, and we're very often reminded about how much talent and depth this Tennessee offense has as well, and that's why they're the number one team in the country.
Yeah, top-ranked Tennessee showing just why, you said it right there, why they are the best team in the country, night in and night out. 17-4 the final score. Number 1 Tennessee defeats number 17 Auburn, taking game 1 of a 3-game set here in Knoxville. Game 2 is coming up tomorrow night. For Ben McKee at Lindsey Nelson Stadium, I am Eric Cain. This has been Around the Horn at Volquest.com.